You're listening to Never Heard of It, a Night Shift Radio production. It was a good echoey clap.
Solid clap.
Yeah. So wait, so tofu marsala.
Tofu marsala, yes.
Where did you get the recipe?
We've subscribed to the Purple Carrot meal service,
Mm.
which let me go ahead and get right out of the way. This episode is not sponsored by Purple Carrot, but it really fucking should be.
It should be. I mean,
we decided it was about a month and a half ago, I think, that we were kind of burnt out. We had been cooking a lot at home since enforced work from home and
sure.
stay at home orders and whatnot. And at first I was, really kind of flexing my skills and like trying new things and getting creative and stuff like that. And, after like the fourth month of that, it started to be just kind of, I guess I'll just get the same stuff from the grocery store this time. Cause like we even stopped going to the grocery store, and that's usually where I get the most creative. Like in the moment, I think like, oh, I can get this and I'll grab all the ingredients for it. Or I'll just get a bunch of stuff that sounds interesting and then later on figure out what to make out of it. And like, that's fun, like my own personal chopped challenge. But it got to the point where like that just wasn't happening, and it was getting real dull. And Ellen had been wanting to try Purple Carrot because it's a like all plant-based meal delivery service.
Nice.
And we had tried another service before, and we liked the idea, but like it was so. We decided to give this one a try, and it has been almost without exception just really good every meal. There's been like one or two that were okay, none that were actually bad. And that's been, I think, the biggest selling point there is like there's been nothing that I regretted us getting. And
Interesting.
Again, it's got me trying new techniques and cooking with different ingredients, and that's what I appreciated the most about the previous service that we used. And I've gotten my crispy tofu skills down. It used to be near impossible to get it right, but today's was pretty much perfect, and I'm very proud.
Spot on. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was. If for those of you listening, back in the day, you probably remember I spoke about HelloFresh a few times. In fact, when I was getting HelloFresh, but now that you mentioned Purple Carrot and it's plant based, which is awesome. My girlfriend is vegetarian, so now the majority of my diet is vegetarian.
Yeah,
we can't exactly go out very much, and we don't really order in all too often that much. Something to consider. Something to definitely consider.
Well, and that was the other thing, is that we had really gotten out of the habit of eating like fresh foods and eating like good, good supply of vegetables and stuff like that. Like, which again, early on we were doing a lot of, and then as it went on, it's like, let's make cheese fries again.
Right.
Or like we got the fucking like TGI Fridays brand like frozen mozzarella sticks one time. We're like, well, this is going to be a good emergency snack. And remind me later. I'll have Ellen send you. We had two like kind of referral codes, and we just sent one to my brother last night because I was making dinner and doing a house party call with him.
Oh, nice!
It was fun. It was nice. Like, that's the future of like mundane use of cool technology that I was promised by sci-fi.
Right.
Like just having a video call
necessity because you're locked in your house.
Yeah. And having a video call at random because like my brother was free and bored and I was making dinner and like we just wanted to chat. Like that was cool.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah. Your brother, by the way, it was awesome. He supplied a song for one of our brand new shows, Fight Jokes About Everything. And he labeled it Punk Rock Podcast. And I thought it was pretty funny.
It's a good jam too.
It's a pretty good jam. I dig it. Yeah.
It's a good jam for a good show.
Yeah. But that being said, you are actually listening to the Never Heard of It podcast, and I'm your host, Michael Fight.
And I am not Caleb. I'm someone else. And I will provide you no context for why I said that. And then I'll walk away.
Entire movie. So we're kicking off 2021. Welcome to 2021.
It's 2021, and I hope the future is bright for you.
Yes, it is January 3rd. We're kicking off the brand new year. Vaccines are rolling out all over the world. It's a crazy it's going to be a crazy year still. I expect most of this year to still feel like last year, only with coronavirus times, but we, here in America, we get a brand new president in just a few weeks, in about 3 weeks. So that's pretty
It'll be
wild.
great. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
We're excited for Uncle Joe and Aunt Kamala. Cool
It's
Aunt
not gonna be
Kamala.
the cure for everything, but it's gonna be a good start.
It's going to be a really good start. Yeah. But yeah, so we're here to talk about, we're kicking off a month of movies. And I'm going to say it, Caleb doesn't know it right now, but we're going to kick off a month of movies starring badass females. However, I expected more badass female in this movie, and she's
Yeah.
really only in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot that's disappointing about this, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah. So for those of you that see, we're talking about the movie Nobody Dies. Now, the weird thing about this movie is this movie is on Tubi TV. It's streamable on Tubi TV as well as IMDb TV, and it is a dubbed film.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And it's not a great dub.
No,
Let me tell
it's
you.
terrible.
Like, I consider myself somewhat of an amateur voiceover actor, and I could have done this way better. This is terrible. This is terrible. Terrible.
Oh my god! Like, first of all, Kitsy, if you happen to be listening, don't watch this movie because the audio will drive you absolutely batshit. You will
so
fucking hate
bad.
every second of it.
Yeah, you can so you know how like when you're on like a walkie-talkie with a friend or something, and it like goes, and then they talk, and then it goes. That's how it was. You like heard the noise happen before somebody spoke. It's like they didn't
trim any of the before or after like dead space in the overdub, and it's just it's for once I can say that the dialogue is actually mixed really well in that it is loud and it was audible and it was like it didn't get buried in the action or anything like that. So like the one time that happens in a movie, it's an overdub and they don't trim the ends, and there's like every bit like there's quiet like kind of ambient sound, and then well then I went to the blah, blah, like what?
it was really weird. It was really bad. But I mean, when the crazy thing about this movie is this wasn't some fly by night movie. The budget for this movie is $25 million. $25 million. That's a major. I mean, that's shit. That's the budget of a lot of like Oscar winning movie, like good high end movies here in America. That is fucking wild, but its cumulative worldwide gross was $8,000 because
there it
fucking
is.
And this movie,
it technically hasn't released yet though. So I don't know what the story is, because it's from 2018, but the release date is set to be 2021. So did it just never make it? Like they planned a release in theaters and it never made it, and they're like, "Fuck it, send it to streaming."
I'm not exactly sure. So this is
the $8,000 is just their streaming revenue,
right? So this is a Tubi TV is like, I don't know. We played a bunch of like State Farm ads. Here's $8,000. So this film was directed and written by Quentin Krog, who is a South African writer director. He's got a few things under his belt. I mean, honestly, I don't know South African films, so I cannot tell you whether these were good movies or not. But he has one that's like Tiss and Tricks for the Birds, Ballad for an Enkeling, and I'm not exactly sure of the language of this because
Afrikaans.
It says that it's Afrikaans, but it also I mean I don't know. It felt very Swedish to me, but I don't know the difference. Maybe that's the same.
Afrikaans
I don't know
is a heavily Dutch inspired language.
Oh well, there you go.
The Dutch colonized South Africa, and like so we end up with this really interesting semi-Dutch but not really African language, and then also like a really strange like pseudo English but not really accent. It's like an English accent mixed with a Scandinavian accent. And it's really fucking fascinating. I love listening to South African people talk. Their accent's fantastic.
Which is a shame because I would have rather listened to this in the original language.
Right? And like give us subtitles and give us the Afrikaans, because it like So there's a single user review on IMDb,
Yeah.
and it says, "Tried to watch this, but all I could find was a voiced over version that was ruined by Americans. Didn't work out at all." And that's, you know what? That's a nice review.
Right.
That's much nicer than what I have to say.
I feel like uh X was ruined by Americans, didn't work out at all, could apply to so many things. like the amount of things that could apply to you
Yeah.
is astronomical, let me tell you. And pretty much most of history can be like, I don't know, tried socialism, but then it was ruined by the Americans. Fuck. I don't know, tried to start a country, and then it was ruined by the Americans. Tried
Ruined
to
by
just live
Americans.
our lives, then it was
Yeah.
ruined by Americans.
Ruined by Americans, the America story.
The America story, the history of America. So this is a really weird movie. So the plot of this movie basically is, think of like any mobster mistaken identity type film. Like I feel like there's a bunch of movies like this, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, like kind of falls under this category. I don't know, Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag kind of falls into this category. Like any of those sort of like comedies, but I'm a mobster, running from the law type, mistaken identity. Any of those sort of films, I feel like it's in that vein. But this movie starts off really weird. So it starts off with a voiceover from Erica Kruger, who is Marley Vandermeer. I'm butchering her name and I apologize. But she's an actress. She's been in a few things. That seems like she's been in mostly, I would assume, South African things, not things nothing that I'm familiar with. And we see her skinny dipping in like this cool little lagoon type thing.
It's a very scenic spot.
It is. It's wonderful. Yeah, very, very cool looking. So we see her like skinny dipping with this guy, and she's like, the voiceover is like, "Oh, it all began, because of this." Oh no, wait, that's not how it starts. It starts with the fight thing, right?
It does the thing where it starts at the end and
Oh
then
yeah.
it jumps back and gives a little bit of backstory about her and then jumps into like the main story, and then we don't see her again for literally 45 minutes.
Literally the
I
majority
checked
of
the
the movie.
timestamp. It was halfway
Jesus.
through the movie before she made a return.
Yeah, so Erica starts off voiceovering. We see the scene where it's like her and our main character Daniel, and a couple other people verse a mob group, and then they start fighting and blah blah. And then she's like, "This is all Daniel's fault," or no. Then she's like, "Ah, blah blah blah," and then it jumps to the lagoon thing, and then she's like, "But this is all Daniel's fault." And then some guy, like, we see her get out of the water, and she's naked, and she gets stressed, and she pulls out a gun, and the guy gets out of the water, and she's like, "But this isn't Daniel." She's like, "You're a pedophile, I'd kill you," blah, and she shoots him, and then we just never see her again for another 45 minutes.
But not before she does this whole monologue about crocodiles and how she admires them.
What was
and
that?
like it makes you think that like she's like, she kills this guy for being a pedophile and then like feeds him to a crocodile or something like that. But no,
Yeah.
she shoots him in the water and he's dead floating there, and she takes a bag full of rocks, backpack full of rocks, and like ties it to his feet and let him sink, and talks about how crocodiles drag their victims underwater and let them drown, and how like people are unnerved by their dead eyes and everything. I'm like, okay, so are you the crocodile? Is there a crocodile? Do I need to be concerned about crocodiles?
Right. Like, who is playing the crocodile in this movie? I need to know. Yeah,
Are
it's really
there
weird.
crocodiles in South Africa?
So the
Which
thing is I wonder if this is like a bad translation. Like maybe it's like it was some sort of metaphor, but it just doesn't translate well. And so when they translate it to English, you're like, "What the fuck are you doing talking about crocodiles?" But it's probably something maybe more fitting, because like, I don't know, because she talks about like, oh, they have dead eyes, and they, she drags him to the bottom, and they're ruthless, and it's like, yeah, but you're not doing that. You're like vigilante in a way, like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she's like an FBI agent or whatever the
she's
equivalent is.
somehow
Like, she works
connected
for
to
the
law
government.
enforcement. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the next time we see her, it's like taking someone into witness protection.
And her
45
job is
minutes
to
later.
do that. Yeah.
Apparently, there are at least two subspecies of crocodiles in South
I
Africa.
thought you were
The
going to say
Nile,
there were only 2 crocodiles in all of South Africa.
there are exactly two crocodiles, and she's apparently studied on at least one of them. No, the Nile crocodile and the Central African slender-snouted crocodile.
Oh, well, yeah, the Nile, obviously. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Interesting.
I wonder how many
Interesting.
variants of crocodile there are, and I wonder if Ethan can tell us the answer.
That would be tales for the cryptozoology. Yeah, so all right. So now you've seen Erica, you've seen that, you know that somehow she's going to pair up with this squirrely looking guy. And now we're going to meet the squirrely looking guy. So now we meet Daniel. Daniel is played by Benny Fuere. Fuere. And so Daniel is some form of accountant. We see he's on the phone and he's like, "Oh, I took over this account, like blah blah blah." I don't think we immediately learn that he works for mobsters, but Daniel works for mobsters. He's basically an accountant for mobsters, but like it's wild to me that he's like an accountant for mobsters, but like he still works in like a cubicle in an office building, and I found that so comedic.
Well, I mean, it's their
The
legitimate
front.
business that they use to launder all their money through. What I found comedic is that the first scene where we see him, he's staring at a blank Google sheet, and then every other scene where we see him working, he's staring at blank Excel sheets. And when at some point somebody questions him what he does, he's like, "I work in Excel a lot." Like,
Which
do you though? You do about as much work in Excel as I do, which is to say, open up a sheet, look at it for a while, and say, "Fuck this."
and they're like, I'm not doing this. This is dumb.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not.
same.
I'm not going to do anything with this spreadsheet. Like, I don't even know why you sent this to me.
You're
I'm
right.
not interested in your data at all.
Just tell me the answer, nerd. So
That's how you know that, like, I would never be like an identity thief or like someone who would like hack you, because I'm not interested in your data whatsoever. Like, I'm not even interested in my own data.
right, exactly. So, so we meet Daniel, and we get that he's losery type of guy, and so eventually he comes home, and he comes home to an event in his house, and there, his family is there and all this stuff, and his wife is there, and so is his marriage therapist, his marriage counselor, and shock. And so his wife pulls him aside and was like, "Hey, I'm leaving you for our marriage counselor. Here's divorce papers." And he's like, "What? What is going on?"
What
Which
a
is just
kick in the
like,
dick.
and it was so funny is the wife is like, "Oh yeah, Chalk says that he sees this all the time. This happens all the time." He's like,
Yeah,
"What?"
yeah, he sees it happen all the time because he fucking does it all the
Because
time.
he's the one doing it. We do in fact learn later that he's pretty much stooping all of his clients' wives. Stooping. Yeah, so it just becomes a disaster. He's the whole ordeal, like, his mom is even like, sorry, to his wife, and she's like, I should have introduced you to the other brother, Daniel, the other Daniel. He's so much better than you, which is his brother is Daniel too.
Cousin
Oh,
Daniel.
his cousin Daniel. Yeah, his cousin Daniel. Oh, he's the better Daniel. I'm sorry. I should have introduced to him, not this loser. And Daniel's just like, "Mom, what the
He's
fuck?"
literally right there, just
He's
standing
like, "I
behind him,
am
like,
right here. Mom, what?"
why is his mom so mean to him?
She's so mean to him. So yeah, so the wife leaves him. He's kind of out on his own, and he goes back to work the next day, and he's just an absolute wreck. Obviously, his wife just left him for his marriage counselor. And so the mobsters now at this point think that because he's acting weird, that much like some of the other bookies and accountants that they've had, that he's either talking to the cops or found out about the money and is smuggling money basically. So they go at him and they're like, "Let me tell you," which it was really weird. The main mobster guy kind of sounded like Nick Offerman.
I could not place what accent he was trying to do. Was it Russian? Was it like
Oh yeah, it
Latin
was like, oh
American?
no, maybe
Like,
not the mobster. The main cop guy sounds like Nick
yeah.
Offerman. The mobster kind of sounded like Boris the Blade from Snatch. But what do you do with the money? I tell you, I'm gonna talk like this. I'm a Russian mobster.
But he
It was
also
very
kind of
weird.
looks a little like Ruben Blades.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
It's like, how badass would Ruben Blades have been in this part?
I mean, it's kind of
So
unfortunate,
badass.
but yeah, so finally, they're like trying to shake him down, thinking that he's, hustling them or whatever, and he's like, my wife left me for our marriage. He breaks down and tells the whole story, and they're like, all right, we're gonna help you out. So they hype him up. They take him over to the marriage counselor's house, and they're like, here's what you can do. You're gonna go in and you're just gonna beat the fuck out of him. Like, just beat him up, and then you'll feel so much better. And so, he goes in and he's ready, and Jacques is like, no, hey, let's do this exercise, shall we? Like, let's let it out. And
Don't forget that, like, as Daniel arrives, there's another man who's leaving, who's like crying and hugging it out with Shock, and Shock is like, "Don't forget to remind your wife about those private sessions." Like, you
right.
son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, oh man. Oh boy. Yeah, so um uh, he he goes in and he was like, hey, listen. And Jock was like, no, like, you're too good for her. Mind you, she's left him for him,
Yeah,
for the marriage counselor. And he's like, no, she's once a cheater, always a cheater. And he's like, she
she
cheated
cheated
with
with you.
you. She's like, she's with you right now.
Yeah, doesn't that make it worse?
Yeah, he's
Like,
like, yeah. Yeah, and he's like, all right, I get your anger. Here's what we're gonna do. And he gets him up and he hypes him up. And he was like, all right, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna punch me right here. Come on, come on. And now, mind you, we see so after, he's like, okay, hoo, and he punches him, but it hits him in the throat. And he turns over and he falls over. And what we see is that there is a nanny cam
Mhm.
in the house, in the teddy bear, in a teddy bear, and he, hits it and he falls down, and he's like, oh my god, oh my god. And Jock's like, I can't breathe. And he's like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. And he stabs him in the throat to make a trachea for him, to make it,
Yeah,
to do a
turns to tracheotomy.
tracheotomy.
It's
Yep.
fucking badass.
I mean, cool that he know how to do that, because he went to what was it? He's like, how did you
Scouts.
know to do that? I went to
Just
Scouts.
scouts.
Yeah. And he makes a trach in the guy, but he ends up, kind of half dying. The mobsters, he's covered in blood. He waves the mobsters in. The mobsters come in and they off him, and then they cut him up and toss him in the cement or something, the cement mix. And then they're like, all right, now you owe us. Like, you're stuck with us because of this.
Well, they're standing there arguing about whether or not to take him to the hospital, and of course, Frank and what is his name, Hansi, were like, why the fuck would we do that? Like, what? Like, we're just gonna kill him. Like, no,
Right.
we got to take care of him. And then Shock like kind of stirs and like groans for a second, and Frank gets startled and shoots him. And Daniel's like, "What did you do?" He's like, "He gave me a fright." So like almost like innocent, like, "Oh, he
He's like,
startled
I
me."
don't know, he scared me. I shot him. Wild. So now Daniel's stuck with the mobsters, and they're like, listen, like, here's the thing. They strip his clothes, they clean the whole place, and they're like, now you're stuck with us. And they go off and they bury him, and the brother threatens them, and is like, listen, if you tell anybody about this, like, we're gonna F you up, and that's gonna be the end of this. And off they go. Now, because what has happened is the wife comes home to the guy, and realizes that he is now missing, so he is gone. And she was like, "Oh my god!" So she, being the woman that she is, looks at the nanny cam footage and immediately submits it to the cop, thinking that Daniel has killed Chalk, which he essentially has. So the cops come, they arrest arrest him. Now, mind you, the entire time the cops have been after this mobster guy, but they can't find any evidence to put him away. They have they keep trying of like embezzling and murder and stuff like that. Like there's a murder in the beginning of the movie, with just body parts strewn around, and it's the accountant that Daniel took over. It's his body.
Which is another thing that the Erica character does a voiceover for, but she's not there.
She's not there at all.
She
It has nothing to
describes
do
like
with her.
how like deprived it is, how like in her line of work, you've got to become immune to these kinds of things and like have a sense of humor. But even for me, this is sick. And I'm just like, and you are where?
And you are how are you related to this crime in one way or another? Because at first you just think she's an assassin. Like that's the idea. In the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie, it's like, oh, you're an assassin. Like your job is to kill pedophiles or whatever. But that's not what she does. Very weird plot that was just so unnecessary.
Hmm.
Completely. So the whole thing happens, now Daniel's getting arrested and they were like look, we know you work for these mobster guys, like just give us something, like can you give us some sort of concrete evidence to put them away? We'll put you in witness protection, you'll get a new life, everything will be fine. Because like they show him the footage and they're like, look man, like it's you, like we have footage to put you away right now, but we
Hmm.
don't think you actually did this, like this is too clean and professional a job, like we know your employers helped you with this, so help us put him away, and they do, and he does.
Yeah, he decides like at first they're like, just tell us, and like I can't, they'll kill me. Who will kill you? I can't tell you that, they will kill me. And then they finally convince him to like go on record and like you give them a recording, a sworn statement. Like he refuses to go like appear in court because he doesn't trust that he'll actually make it to or from
Right.
the court hearing, but he goes on record with the sworn statement. And in the meantime, the house gets like professionally swept again. So
Swept.
like all possible evidence is gone. Like the cops have zero case whatsoever, except for Daniel's statement. And so like we got to take care of this guy. We got to protect him. And mind you, now we are finally at roughly the halfway point, and we get the return of Erica
Yeah,
for like 10 minutes.
for like 10 minutes, and then she's only in a few little bits of the movie, and then like I don't know, for some reason something happens. So Erica is now in charge of witness protection for Daniel. She's going to set him up with his new life and then basically take him to the other side of the state or country or whatever it is, to basically keep him protected until she's going to stay with him until the trial is over, and then she's going to go off and he's going to have his brand new life. And so they're driving off, and she's like, and then we get our voiceover again, which again I still don't really understand why she's the one voicing over this and not him,
It
or having a
really
voiceover in general. I just don't understand.
it really felt like she was supposed to be the main character, and then they just ended up making it all about Daniel.
Yeah,
But like the story is written is about Daniel.
is about Daniel, right? The whole story
Uh,
is about Daniel. Like Erica plays the most minor part in this movie,
mhm.
and I don't understand why she's a voice. Like if it were me, like if I was now like the one going to edit and like producing this, I would go through and be like, all right, cut the whole beginning, just start with the murder, cut the voiceover, start with the murder, go to Daniel being the accountant, and then run through the film like that, cut all the voiceover parts out, and then just have the witness protection thing happen way earlier, show way
Mhm.
more scenes of them together. Like the majority of the movie should be them running from the mobsters,
Yeah, make it
and
like a
then
buddy film.
ending the same way it ends. Like it ends in a really great way, and it should end that way. But like we get so much of the movie that's just like this is like I don't really understand the point of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really weird. But okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna finish up with Nobody Dies. Um, So before we do that, we want to remind everyone to subscribe if you haven't. Please do. We appreciate all of
Yes,
our
please.
subscribers and those who have. It's a really great way to get notified when a brand new episodes happen, which is every Thursday and Sunday, and the occasional bonus here and there, just like we did the other day with Fat Man.
That's true.
Yeah. But then you can also check us out on social media at the Nahoit Podcast, the NHOIT Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. Really great place to learn a little more and see clips from past and future episodes, trailers, and the whole spiel, or just directly interact with us. If there's a film you think we should watch, you can tweet it at us, and we would greatly appreciate it. But Caleb, where else can people find us?
Well, of course, you can always find us by visiting thenahoit.com. That's THENHOIT.com, where every month we have our list of upcoming episodes for the month, with links to trailers as well as where you can find the movies streaming if available. Which most of the movies that we do review are available streaming because we want the most people possible to be able to watch them. In this movie, as I think we mentioned, is like a lot of the films we watch, available streaming for free on tubetv.com. So definitely check that out. You can watch for free without even signing up if you want, or you can sign up so that you have your watch history and your recommendations lists and whatnot. And if you're lucky, you watch enough shit like us, and your recommended list is just absolutely out of control.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. It's a circus.
just just like un unbridled nonsense. I don't even have the right words for like how bad
For how bad it is.
the
Oh
algorithm,
boy.
like what, like if someone were to really parse the data of either of our accounts, like what would they really think of us?
Oh God, there would absolutely be FBI files on both of us instantly. They'd be like, "There's no way these people are of sound mind." Like,
No.
there's no way.
Um, we were having a fairly in-depth discussion earlier amongst some friends about the new Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
No spoilers or anything here, but we were discussing some of the things that people have said are either good, bad, or like problematic about it. And at one point, I just had to say, like, guys, like I don't have a frame of reference for good films anymore. I've watched so much garbage over the last 3 years. I'm literally watching trash right now, like as we speak, because I've been watching this movie. So,
Oh,
uh, Dad, I can't defend it.
yeah, I mean, if you agreed, but if you want more super hot takes about Wonder Woman 1984, check out last week's episode of Fight Jokes About Everything,
Yeah.
where I talk about Wonder Woman 1984. Which brings me to our next topic before we head off to break. We have 9 podcasts available for you guys. 9
What?
shows. There are 9 shows and 11 members of the Night Shift Radio family. So head over to nightshiftradio.com and check out all the stuff there. There's a blog there. There's links to our YouTube channel where we do have some videos. We've got a link to all of our shows. Definitely check it out. A lot of brand new ones. So we're going to go ahead and jump to a break. When we come back, we will finish up with Nobody Dies.
You're listening to a Night Shift Radio production. Night Shift Radio is a modern media company bringing you shows that entertain, inform, and most importantly, provide an escape. Never Heard of It dives into the world of bad, obscure, and sometimes just weird movies. Follow along with the crew of Set Condition 1 as they experience the 2004 sci-fi hit Battlestar Galactica, one episode at a time. Each week on Left of the Dial, we explore a new record or revisit an old favorite. We bring in guests to talk about their own music and the state of the industry. The Superpod Hero Cast, guys with beers talking about movies with capes. They draw a random comic-inspired movie from Thor's helmet and offer thorough, insightful, and humorous commentary. And once a month, tune into the Storyteller series and get lost in the magic of a good old-fashioned radio drama. Learn more about these fine shows at nightshiftradio.com and subscribe on your favorite platform.
Hello and welcome back.
Hi.
I'm thinking
How-
of the song "We Are" from We Are Scientists called "Nobody Move, Nobody Gets Hurt." It's a really good song.
That made me think of Fairweather. They had a
Fair
song
weather
called
friends.
If He Moves, Kill Him,
Oh,
or If
if
They
you move,
Move, Kill Him, or something like
if
that.
they move, kill them. I like it.
Um,
Well, yeah, We Are Scientists. Good band. Check them out. Think very in line with like kind of like shit. I was thinking ninjas. What's the Vampire Weekend, but like not as pretentious. Does that make sense?
I
I'm
don't think I
sorry.
can picture Vampire Weekend not pretentious.
It's like, well, what's left over? There's nothing.
Am I
Sorry if
thinking?
any members of Vampire Weekend are listening.
Am I
But
thinking of the right band? Is that the ones who like self-described? They're like, we want to do like Paul Simon but African.
maybe I don't know. I, I don't know if that's accurate,
Like
but it
it
sounds
was,
about right.
it was one of them. Like that's why I say like I don't know. I can't picture a not pretentious version because it's like the most pretentious thing I've ever heard.
You know what? So a few years ago, let's say about 10 years ago, or so. Maybe it was about 9 or 8, whatever time. But anyway, so
Make it
I
up. Nobody
ran.
knows.
Nobody knows. This could be a fake story.
It's your
So
story.
I ran into like an old high school friend of mine, and I had not seen him since high school. So since 1999, I had not seen this person since at least then.
I
And
think I know exactly who you're talking about.
maybe. So
Please go on.
I run into this kid. We're in Rochester. I run into him, and he was like, oh my god, blah, hey, what's going on? And he was like, hey, I saw that you were like in bands for a while. Like that's really cool. Like I also like kept up with music. We were in a band together in high school. And he was like, yeah, I was up in music. He was like, yeah, yeah, the guys from Vampire Weekend were like staying in my apartment. And like at this point, like they were well enough known that they could have gotten like a fucking hotel room. And he was like, yeah, they're just like crashing on my couch. And I'm like, what? Like, dude, they have videos on like MTV. Like, they can't get a fucking hotel. Why are they crashing on your shitty? First off, you're the waiter at this very dumpy pub. Like, you don't have a nice apartment. I'm sorry, you don't. Like, I know for a fact you don't. Like, what is this like really large act doing staying on your freaking couch? Like, did they just spend all their money doing coke and have to bum on like random dudes' couches?
Entirely possible.
And, which is entirely possible. That is true. They spent way too much money on polo shirts and were like, ah, fuck. Now we gotta.
Shirts.
Yeah, I don't know.
Beautiful.
That's my
Just
assumption.
Just beautiful.
But anyways, now that we're done shitting on the Vampire Weekend, we are gonna finish the movie. We're gonna go ahead and shit on this movie. Nobody dies. So the rest of the movie. So we find out that Erica has taken Daniel to like her parents' house who were killed. And I guess they were attacked by like a pedophile, and then like she was maybe assaulted. I don't really know. They don't really say that, but I feel like that's the only motivation she could have.
So at this point, we know that Daniel's file got mixed up due to an altercation at the police station. He got mixed up with another suspect who was apparently brought in on charges of assault and molestation. And so she takes one look at the file, sees that like it's got his picture and like all of these charges, doesn't like do any like additional research or like vet the story or anything. She just like she sees the words like assault of a minor or something like that, and it's like, yep, gonna kill this fucker.
Right.
And so she takes him to that same like house in the middle of nowhere and like up to the lagoon where we see her off the guy in the beginning, with full intention of killing him in the exact same way. And this is where we start to get a little backstory that this is just a thing that she does. And after that is not successful, she at one point tells him like, you would have been number 5. And then later, they do end up at her parents' place, and she's like, they were killed, and like, by who? Number 1. So we learned that like that's she's a full-on serial killer is what she is.
No, legit. That works for the government. Yeah. It's not
like
that's the thing. Like, if they had gone with like, I don't know, like they could have changed the plot to make her be like the mobster's hitman, and she's like, oh well, I'm gonna go off and like kill this dude, but then finds out that it's not really the thing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like They could have dropped this whole plot line about the murdering pedophiles thing because it does not make sense.
Well, she's
It's
got
so
a
pointless.
honestly, like, this is if they had just pursued her story as her story, she's got a more brilliant plan than Dexter. Because
Yeah,
she's less likely to get caught because her whole thing is making people disappear on purpose, like for the
right.
government, like taking witnesses and like taking them off the grid. And if that person then later on just fails to check in and has decided to go off and like really go all in on the like start a new life and never be heard from again, then that means the program succeeded. So as far as the other police know, as far as the South African government knows, she has successfully helped these people off to their new life. Meanwhile, she's taking them out in the middle of nowhere and killing them in a way that they'll never be found. Like,
Right.
it's pretty brilliant, uh, in a scary way.
No,
Um,
but I mean, like, yeah, in the plot of it, I mean, it's great.
but she's such a minor part in that, and like we just get like the briefest introduction to like this level of like insanity that she's a part of. And, like, I kind of wanted more of that.
Yeah, and that's that's the biggest mistake I think people make is that they in like the world of character building, like everybody should have a story. But the problem is like once you've chosen your main character, and this is true of movies, may not be true of literature. I will defer to that to people more qualified than me. But in
Yes,
terms of
good call.
movies, yeah, right. I can hear her downstairs, my girlfriend, who is an actual writer for a living, looking up, being like, "What are you about to say about character building?" Um,
Say more words, motherfucker.
sharpening her claws. No, but so in the movie world, the you have a main character, you drive your main character, but your sub characters can't be more interesting. And if they do become more interesting, then they have to also become main characters. And the problem with Erica is she was not. She became way more interesting,
Mhm.
but in a really weird way. All of her motivations became confusing, and it's almost started like a whole other movie. That you're like, well, wait, is this like just make a movie about that? Like you said,
Mhm.
like just make that movie, or just make this Daniel movie. Like I feel like this is like there was an Erica movie, there was a Daniel movie, and then somebody was like, "Let's make like a crossover episode with
What is
Daniel
this,
and
a crossover?
Erica," and that's what it'll be. Like it felt like two people got half a story, and then they melded them together to make like this third story that still was kind of like, wait, what? Because then they end up
Yeah.
going like to a wedding, and it's like, why the fuck are we going to a wedding? Like this is really weird. It was really weird. Mind you, they're being chased by mobsters and cops.
A whole movie that's just her story as this like vigilante serial killer thing, where we get like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops of backstory of this Daniel guy who like has been brought into witness protection, and like there's a mix up with his file, and she's taking over his case and she's going to kill him, and then she learns like, oh, it's a mix up and now I have to protect you from these mobsters and like actually get you to safety. That's a good story. That's the
Absolutely.
story that I
And
wanted to
then,
see here.
make them fall in love or something stupid like that if you want to do the typical thing.
You gotta, but like,
I mean, you don't have to. That's the
I
thing.
have to.
Make it a buddy movie with just, them. So anyways, so she takes him swimming, they're skinny dipping, and she gets out. She, gets her underwear on and pulls out her gun, and she's about to kill him. She's like, because you're a pedophile. And then he's like, look out behind you, because one of the monsters is there who has tracked them down.
Mhm.
And finally she wrestles him and shoots him, but then ends up getting knocked out. And so Daniel ties her up and is like, you're crazy, like what are you doing, why are you trying to kill me? And she's like, because you're a freaking pedophile. They have this whole scene where she's like tied up, she's at the chair, and she's like, I have to go to the bathroom, and he's like, I'm not letting you out, you're going to use your ninja skills and kill me. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do? So she pees all over the floor on herself, and he's like, bah. So he takes her, he dumps her in the tub. And this is where we get the moment where he was like, look, is this me? Like this isn't me, like you don't understand. And then she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they have like this is where we get like the mix up, and we're like, she gets out of the after he's like, fine, like he unties her, lets her bathe, he goes and lays on the bed, and she comes in, and she's naked, and he's like, oh, here we go. But then she was like, wait, what are you doing? And he was like,
Yeah.
Nothing, sorry. Like, I don't
This
know.
is another one where, like, I wanna know if it's bad translation or bad writing, where later on, like, the next day, like, they're in the car driving, and he's like, "I just there was the thing last night where, like, I thought that you were going to, apologize for trying to kill me and then reward me with your body." I'm like, "Reward me with your body?
Who says
What?
that?
Who the fuck talks like that?"
Right. Well, I mean, even if it has to be bad writing, because even if you translate that, like the other thing is you don't do direct translations. You translate and then adjust to the vernacular or to
Yeah,
make it fit. So
yeah.
like somebody wrote that and it was like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Like nobody thought about like, wait, what? Like it was very, very weird.
It was
Quentin, we're looking at you.
it was very, very Christmas.
It was very Christums. So so we get the resolution of that. We know that the mobsters are after them, but now for some reason, I think I missed this part. They end up going to his ex-wife's new wedding.
No, so, while on the run, they actually drive right past a standoff between, the officers and the mobsters,
Oh, right.
as they're making the exchange of Hansi's body. Because the whole thing was a setup, like, the police set the mobsters up, and used Daniel as bait to try to lure them out so they could actually, like, catch them on something, and that's where things go awry and, like, Hansi gets killed and everything. And so they're making the exchange of the body, and Daniel drives right past them, and of course, the like everybody sees Daniel and Erica, and like, well, time to go get those fuckers. Uh,
Right.
and they get to a point where like they come to an intersection, and Erica's like, turn left here, and Daniel looks over and sees the church. He's like, nope, going to this wedding. And I don't know if he knew. Or if it's just sheer coincidence that it's his cousin Daniel's wedding, the one that they were doing like all the photographs for and everything in the very beginning.
Well, They
Uh,
they talk about like when it did. I think he knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, like, he acts surprised. So, again, I don't know if that's
Yeah.
the voiceover or if the writing or what. But they get there and he's like, "You're gonna be my date. We'll call you Natasha."
Natasha.
"Yeah, Natasha." And so they go and, like, he starts introducing her to people as his date, and everyone's like, "Why the fuck are you even here? Like, legit, like, we thought you were gone."
Like
And,
you're like wanted for murder. Like
like
everybody knows that he's wanted for killing Jock.
Like we believe that you're innocent, but like we pretty much assumed you weren't coming, so like we took you off the guest list. Like that's what they're concerned about is
Right.
the fact that he showed up with a +1. So they sit down, and then in walk the officers and the mobsters, and there's a weird scene where Frank, the leader, the boss of the mafia here, uh, like fires his gun and like hits the flower girl's basket, and like Daniel's like, "What are you doing? That's my niece." And he's like, "Oh, sorry." And then like he like cocks his gun again and shoots it again and hits like the old grandpa and like kills him. And Daniel's like, "What? What? This is my grandpa. Why? Why are you doing this?" And then
What are
finally
you
like,
doing?
"That's it. Like, let's go." And like they all just storm out and go downstairs. And apparently don't make a scene at all. Like 12 people suddenly getting up and leaving from the middle of this ceremony. Nobody
Right.
notices whatsoever. Uh, and they go down and have the standoff, which we discussed at the very beginning, where they do the thing where they started at the end and then did the whatever.
The Fight Club thing. Yeah. So, they fight it out. The cops, the Erica and Daniel win, I guess. And then the end. I don't know. The
Everybody.
movie
So
ends.
the film is called Nobody Dies, but almost everybody dies. In fact, of like this
I,
group of
I
people that go down to the basement and have the shootout, Daniel's the only one who doesn't die. It's like Erica's the narrator, but it's heavily implied that she dies after he leaves.
right.
Like
Because
she,
everybody's just laying there.
he leaves her there dying and like walks out as like the wedding party comes down to like have cake and like the reception and everything, and there's just bodies and blood everywhere, and they're like, "Oh, what is this?" And he's just like, "Peace, fuckers." Mind you, this is probably the only time that I've ever seen a major shootout in a movie where like everyone has suppressors on their guns, and I don't
Right.
know what that actually sounds like. I know what it sounds like from movies, I've never heard a gun with a suppressor go off in real life. I have heard real guns, and they don't sound necessarily like they do in Hollywood movies, but they're still loud enough that Daniel, being the one person that doesn't have a suppressor, when he just blindly takes like 7 shots at the end, would have disrupted the wedding.
Oh, they would have heard this shootout like 100%. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not really sure of the point of the name of the movie. Nobody dies.
So
Maybe it's a bad translation, or maybe it's like irony. I don't know.
the original title from the poster looks to have been Andermans,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that translates directly to Nobody Dies.
I do want to mention while you're looking that up is the mobster guy. His name is Frank, but in real life, his name is Frank. His name is Frank Opperman, and he's in one of my favorite Jackie Chan movies called Who Am I,
Yeah.
as one of the security guards, which is pretty cool. Does
So this is
does
Dutch,
Andermans translate into anything?
Dutch to English. Different person.
Yeah, which is about right. That's because he's
Yeah,
like
that's
it
that.
probably means like the wrong guy, like wrong guy or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did Nobody Dies come from?
I
Like,
don't
I
know.
thought that like maybe it would be like a hostage situation. Like,
Right.
Ellen and I
Hey,
were talking
nobody
about this. I was
dies. Yeah.
like nobody moves, nobody dies, something like that. And like,
Nobody
I was
moves,
telling,
nobody gets hurt. It's
yeah,
clear
exactly,
finding.
exactly. Um, I was telling Ellen about that. She's like, yeah, as soon as you told me the title, I was like, this, like, everyone's gonna die in this movie. Like,
Right. It's just a clever title.
I didn't.
Oh
I
boy.
did not. I did not make her watch this one because I had a feeling. But yeah, it
Yeah.
means different person, and
That's such
that
a
makes sense.
such a better title. It makes way more sense.
Way more sense.
Oh, ridiculous. So, should you watch this movie? I mean, there was a few. I giggled at a few parts. There's a few lines like Daniel is charmingly awkward. The mobsters are funny at parts. There's a lot of really weird scenes though with the mobsters that like there's the one where they're like driving and he's or with either the mobsters and the cops. Like both are very funny and very same. Like they kind of look exactly the same. And a few times I was
Yeah.
like, wait, are these the cops or the mobsters? Because the actors like looked the same. Like they
Mhm.
dressed the same, they talked the same. It was really weird. But like one of them's like eating jerky in the car,
Yeah.
and there's like a bunch of jokes of it, and I'm like, I don't really understand why we're doing this shtick right now. Like this is really weird. Like I don't get it, but like this, it's
It's
funny,
like
but like I don't understand. Like what is
the
happening?
junior partner in the detective duo, and he's been eating, and like he goes to like lick his fingers, and the older detective who is literally like he was packing up his shit to retire when they got the
Right.
footage from the wife. So he's literally that like I was this close
One
to
day to
retirement
retire.
sort of. But like he makes a crack like you had jerky, doesn't mean you need to eat your fingers or something like that. And
Right.
the guy's like, they call it a wrap, but the filling falls out. Like, what is
I just
going-
it
it's
was
road
weird.
trip banter. Is what it is.
Yeah. So I'm very torn on this because I think if you are a fan of train wreck plots, yeah, watch this movie. If you're watching it because you think it'll be funny or maybe the action's good, I mean the action's mediocre at best, but like I don't know, maybe watch it.
If you want a movie that makes sense, don't watch this.
Yeah,
But like it's it was fine.
it
You know,
was fine. It wasn't
I called it
terrible.
trash earlier, and that was more in the context of the conversation that I was having than like a direct hit on the movie. And
Yeah,
I just know that this is going to be one of those times where like the director or the writer or someone involved is going to like randomly stumble across like somebody's going to tweet about it and they're going to listen and be like, "Oh, these guys shit on our movie." Like, it was fine. Like the worst fucking part was the dub, and like give me a version that I can watch with like genuine subtitles and like the actual Afrikaans voice actors, and I will watch this again and judge it on that rather than on what I saw today.
yes, totally agree.
So like if you're involved in this movie and you made it this far, first of all, thank you for listening. But if you made it this far and you have access to that file, let us know because I want to see that version.
We will totally make another episode of this movie with the original dub if you can get it to us.
Assuming it's
Only
different enough.
Yeah, assuming it's different enough, and if there's a better cut of it, because it still says it's coming out in 2021 in the USA. But we
Yeah.
watched it today, and I found it over a month ago. So, so it's been out for at least a month or two. But that being said,
Yeah.
thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. For those of you on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button over there on YouTube as well. Brand new episodes every Sunday. Yeah, so next episode is the Machine Girl. What is it? Oh wait, I gotta find the
It's not
actual
the
title.
Machine Girl. We did that already.
We did that already. No, the next episode is going to be Bring Me the Head of the Machine Gun Woman. This one's also on Tubi. I don't know. It looks cool. I'm really excited, but I have a feeling it's going to be another one of those movies where you're not going to see the Machine Gun Woman for a really long time. But maybe she's the main character. I guess we'll find out.
I mean, just from the poster, it looks like a total grindhouse.
Yeah,
And where's is made in Chile? Looks like
even better.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this.
Cautiously optimistic is that's perfect. That's I love that. So again, thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you on next time.